Clementine sat nervously at her desk, twiddling her thumbs together. She crossed her fingers hoping she had done a good job. Clementine. She perked up at her name and stood from her seat. Clementine approached the desk, taking the paper. She looked score on the test and sighed. The girl slowly returned to her seat, feeling disheartened. Suddenly the bell rang and everyone jumped from their chairs. Clementine slowly pushed herself up, still looking over her test paper. "You're all free to go." The teacher nodded towards the door before calling, "Clementine." Clementine looked up towards the man. "You don't have to get an A+ on every assignment." Clementine could only sigh. "I got a B-. A B-. Can you believe that?" Clementine complained. "Clem, I don't see what the big deal is," said Sandra. Sandra was almost 3 years older than her. But she was one of her closest friends. Her sister of sorts. "What do you mean? That's almost a C." Clementine huffed. "So what? I get C's all the time," Sandra said proudly. "But I studied really hard for that test," Clementine said, disappointment clear in her voice. "Maybe that's a sign that you need to take a break." Sandra smirked. "Maybe," Clementine sighed. "Relax, it's not the end of the world," Sandra assured, patting the younger girl's shoulder. "For you maybe. You graduate next year," Clementine pointed out. "Yeah. I can't wait to." Sandra smiled. "No homework?" "Yeah." Clementine nodded. Sandra beamed. "More dances?" "Well, I don't know about that." Clementine rolled her eyes. "Do you think about college?" "College?" "Yes." "Really, Clem?" Sandra scoffed. "I don't have the time to think about that." "What about your education?" Clementine asked. "Screw education," Sandra said. "I'm going wherever all the parties are, and the boys." "Seriously, Sandra?" Clementine groaned. "What's wrong with thinking about boys?" Sandra asked. Clementine just rolled her eyes and kept walking. "Anyway," Sandra started, "how's our baby raccoon?" Clementine smiled. "He's doing good. The vet's taking care of him." "That's good." Sandra smiled as well. They had found a baby raccoon a week ago in Clementine's backyard. After finding it could hardly walk, they turned it over to the vet. "Got any plan for spring break?" Clementine asked. "You bet I do. How about you?" Sandra laughed. Not really. I'll probably just stay home and study." Clementine shrugged. "Boring." "Is not. Studying can be fun." Clementine protested. "Yeah, if you're a nerd." Sandra gave her a poke on the nose, causing the girl to shoot her a glare. "No wonder your grades are so good." "Is that an insult?" Clementine giggled and kept walking. "Wait, where are you going?" Sandra called. "Home." "What? Not already?" Sandra pouted. "Let's go to the mall." "I can't today. Maybe tomorrow." "All right, fine." "Do you have to go?" Clementine asked her parents sadly. "Clem, you'll be fine. It'll only be a few days," Diana said. "Can't I go?" Clementine pleaded. "Nope. Sorry kiddo," Ed replied. "No missing school." "I'll miss you guys," Clementine said. "You're acting like you'll never see us again," Ed chuckled. "I'll just miss you guys, I'll be home alone," she said. "Yeah, but you'll be fine," Ed said. "I know," Clementine sighed. "We're not leaving for a few more days anyway," Diana informed. "How'd you do on your test?" "I got a B," Clementine mumbled. "That's great," they praised. "Minus," Clementine sighed. "That's still good," Diana said. "Is not." Clementine shook her head. "That's almost a C." "Why do you have to be such a perfectionist?" Ed asked with a snort. "I can't help it," Clementine said. "I'm going to go study. I'm definitely getting an A+ next time." "Hey, Clem," Sandra greeted as she approached her on the bus stop. "Morning," Clementine greeted back. "Did you get the text?" Sandra suddenly asked. "Text?" Clementine said. "You're not in the group chat?" Sandra asked. "No." Clementine didn't even know about a group chat. She was feeling left out now. "Are you going to Stephen's party?" Sandra asked. "Stephen McCrow? Isn't he on probation?" Clementine raised a brow. Yeah. Sandra nodded. And his parents are letting him have a party? Clementine shook her head in disbelief. Yeah. Isn't it cool? Sandra asked. I think it's crazy, Clementine said. Whatever, you going or not? The girl looked down. Come on. Everyone's going to be there. I'll think about it, Clementine told her before taking her hand and picking up her pace. Come on, we're going to be late. I'm back. Diana looked up from the dishes she was doing to face her daughter. Welcome home, baby. Thanks, Clementine said. So, Mommy. Yes, Clementine? There's a party this weekend, can I go? The teen asked. Absolutely not. Diana immediately responded. Why not? Clementine demanded. I know how teenagers get at parties. I don't want you getting influence into anything, Diana said. Mom, come on. I won't. You know how I am, Clementine said. I said no, Clem, Diana said strictly. But, no. She cut her off. Clementine huffed, storming from the room. Ed was sitting at the table. It was early morning. He was reading the newspaper as he often did before he went to work. Daddy? You're up early, Clem. He smiled at her. Yeah, can I ask you something? Clementine started. I don't have any money, he joked. That's not funny. Clementine pouted. All right, sorry, he chuckled. What is it, kiddo? So, there's this party, she mumbled. He nodded. Everybody's going, Clementine continued. Right. Ed nodded once more. It's this Saturday, Clementine said slowly. Where is it? Ed asked. At Stephen's house. Clementine replied. Stephen? Ed's eyes widen. Isn't that the boy who's always getting in trouble with the police? Yes. Clementine confirmed, before speaking again. Listen, Daddy, I know you don't like him much, but I really want to go. Everyone will be there and... No. Ed stopped her. Daddy, please. She begged. No, Clementine. You'll thank me when you're older. I doubt that. The party will be over when I'm older, Clementine sighed. I never asked to go anywhere. The least you can do is let me go. As soon as they approached the school, two boys made their way towards them. Clementine fought back a sigh. Sandra liked them, but they always managed to annoy Clementine. Stephen started riding his bike in circles around them. Party at my house. Saturday. You coming? Of course I'm going. Sandra grinned. I'm not, Clementine said. What? Why not? Stephen asked, still circling them. How come? Sandra questioned as well. She's a chicken. The other boy, Noah, cut in. Clem? Sandra asked. I can't, Clementine sighed. You never come to any of our parties, Stephen said, still riding. I've got a lot of homework, Clementine said, exiting his circle. They followed, Stephen quickly locking his bike. Homework? Noah asked. Really, Clem? My parents would never let me go. Clementine admit. Don't you want to go? Sandra asked. I do, Clementine said. She did want to go, but she didn't care if she couldn't. Then ask again. Stephen shrugged. Maybe they'll change their minds. They won't. You don't know how they are, Clementine said. You can always try. What's the harm in asking another time? Stephen replied. I guess you're right. Clementine muttered. Of course I am. Stephen smirked. Want me to ask with you? Sandra offered. Clementine nodded. I guess so. I'm home. Clementine called. Hey, sweetie. Diana called back from the kitchen. Hi, Mrs. Diana, Sandra yelled out as well. Oh, hey, Sandra. Diana greeted back. You staying for dinner? Yeah. The meal was silent. Not a comfortable silence. An awkward silence. Clementine couldn't stop herself from fidgeting. Ask. Sandra finally mouthed to her friend. Mom, Dad, Clementine nervously called. What is it? Ed asked. About that party. Clementine swallowed. We've spoken on this. You're not going, Diana said. Why not? Clementine asked. We don't want you out partying, Diana said. I'll make sure she stays out of trouble. Sandra butt in. No offense, but you can barely stay out of trouble yourself, Sandra, Ed said. Sandra fell silent at that. I'm not a little girl anymore, Clementine argued. Don't ask again, Clementine, Diana said. I never get to do anything, Clementine snapped. It's so unfair. She dropped her fork and ran up the stairs. Sandra, I think it's time for you to go, Ed gently said. Yeah. Sandra pushed herself up. I was just leaving. Well, what did they say? Stephen asked. Clementine didn't look up from her food. Clementine? Stephen called. We'll be there, Sandra uttered, causing Clem's eyes to widen. Really? Awesome. Stephen beamed, before walking away. Sandra, Clementine snapped. Why would you say that? You know I can't go. Of course you can, Sandra said. Mom and Dad say I'm not allowed, Clementine replied. You were there. They don't have to know, Sandra said. But, Sandra cut her off. Aren't they going out of town tomorrow? Yeah. Clementine nodded. Well, what they know won't hurt them. But Sandra, that's lying, Clementine protested. A little white lie never hurt anybody, Sandra said. I'll pick you up and bring you something to wear. What's wrong with my clothes? Clementine asked, looking at her outfit. You're kidding, right? Sandra asked in shock. Don't you want to look sexy? More grown up? I guess so, Clementine responded. She didn't care about being sexy. Of course you do. I mean, you're 15 and your parents treat you like you're 10, Sandra giggled. Just make sure you're ready for Saturday. Come in, Clementine said, when she heard a knocking on her bedroom door. Clementine, we're leaving now, Diana said. Clementine looked down sadly. Okay. Be good, Ed said, patting her head. No parties. Okay, Clementine said, feeling her heart rate pick up at the word party. Love you, sweetheart. Her father kissed her cheek, before her mother did the same. Love you too, Clementine said. Bye, baby. Diana smiled. Clementine waited for them to pull from the driveway before grabbing the phone. Hey, Sandra? Her palms were sweating, she was so nervous. They're gone. Great. Party time tomorrow, Sandra exclaimed over the phone. Why yeah. Tomorrow. Clementine gulped. Clementine sighed, she had decided to shower to calm her nerves. She couldn't stop think about how she was betraying her parents' trust. Speaking of the devil, her phone rang and the name displayed was Mom. Hello? She answered, throat feeling dry. Hey, Clem. We just called to say good night, Diana said. You being good? Of course not. The place is trashed, Clementine joked. Hope you clean it before we get back, Diana giggled. Not a chance, Clementine said back with a laugh. The two giggled for a while before Diana said, We love you, baby. Get some rest. We'll talk in the morning. Okay. Clementine woke up early morning, feeling anxious. She was nervous. She was hoping her parents would call and she'd just confess to them her plans right then and there, but they never called that morning. In fact, they didn't call for hours, and before she knew it, Sandra had arrived. What are you wearing? Clementine asked. Her friend was showing skin, a lot of skin. You don't like it? Sandra asked. It's interesting, Clementine said, not know any other way to describe it. It's sexy, huh? Sandra grinned. Your parents let you leave like that? Clementine asked in surprise. Of course not. I waited until they weren't home. I'm sleeping over by the way, she said. Oh? Clementine nodded. Okay. So, you ready? Sandra asked her. I guess. Clementine was hesitant. Let's put some makeup on you. Sandra dug into her bag, pulling out some makeup. Then we'll figure your hair out. Clementine gave a nervous nod. Here, I got this for you. Sandra showed her a bright red dress. From one best friend to another. Clementine stared at it for a moment. I don't know, it seems tight. That's what makes it so hot. Sandra gave her a shove. Put it on. You look amazing, Clem, Sandra said, giddily. I do? Clementine asked. Yeah, she said. Thank you. Clementine sheepishly replied. She was still trying to get used to the heels Sandra had given her. As they sat in the car, she felt like she wanted so desperately to chicken out. Come on, let's go inside. Wow, Clem. Clementine felt uncomfortable with the boy eyeing her like a piece of meat. Stop staring, Gabriel. A girl huffed. Come on. Sandra tugged her friend along. Everybody's staring, Clementine mumbled. What do you expect? You look good, Sandra said. Hey, Stephen. Great party. Thanks, Sandra, Stephen said before smirking at Clementine. So you really did show up? Yeah, Clementine said. Cool, he said. Want something to eat? A drink maybe? Aye. Clementine looked around feeling self-conscious. She tugged on her too short dress. Guys, I shouldn't be here, she said. Loosen up, Clem, Noah said. Don't be a prude. But you're hanging with the big dogs now, Stephen said. Come on. Have a drink. Maybe you should, Sandra said. You won't even think about it if you're drunk. You've gotten drunk? Clementine asked in horror. Yeah, Sandra said. Haven't you ever been drunk before? Noah asked Clementine. Of course not. My parents would kill me, Clementine said. Well, they're not here. Try it, Stephen said. No. Clementine backed away, nearly tripping. I shouldn't be here. I need to go home. Oh, relax, Clem, Sandra said. What your parents don't know won't kill them. I can't lie to them, Clementine argued. It's not a lie. They'll never know unless you tell them, Sandra said. Aren't they gone for like 2 weeks? No way. Noah grinned, eyes wide. What? Clementine asked. Your folks are out of town? Noah asked. Why yes. Clementine confirmed. So we going to party or what? Noah asked her. What? Clementine looked confused. Tomorrow, Noah smirked. Party at your place? No. Stop it. Clementine shook her head. I'm going home. She turned on her heels and started to walk away. Whatever, Clem. You're no fun. Stephen called after her. She could hear them laughing. Probably at her. She made her way outside when she heard Sandra yell. Clementine, wait. You can't go alone. Something bad might happen. I can take care of myself. Clementine huffed, crossing her arms. Sure you can. Sandra rolled her eyes at the younger girl. What's the problem? I shouldn't be here, Clementine said, looking around. Fine. We'll go home, Sandra sighed. When? Clementine asked. 15 minutes, Sandra said. Just come back inside. I promise. Fine. Hey, you're back. One of the boys exclaimed. We're not staying long, Sandra said. Pour me a drink. Got it. Clementine sat in silence, watching everyone down alcohol. She didn't want to be there anymore. She hadn't expected the party to be like this. It was too much. Sandra, I think you've had enough, Clementine said. Sandra, let's go. Come on, Clem. Don't be a party pooper. The girl replied. I'm not. Clementine defended. This is ridiculous. We're going home. Just chill, girlie. Have a drink, Stephen said. I don't drink, Stephen, Clementine snapped. It's just punch. Stephen promised. Clementine huffed and took the drink from his hand. She looking into it before taking a sip. Well? Stephen asked. It's good. She lied, not wanting to be rude. Then have some more. He smirked. She didn't want to refuse the offer, after all, she was his guest. Sandra pulled herself out of her half-asleep state to check on her friend. Clementine was sitting on Stephen's lap, allowing the boy to kiss her neck. That wasn't the Clem she knew. Sandra was starting to feel uncomfortable. Stephen, did I ever tell you how sexy you were? Clementine giggled into the boy's ear. Tell me now, baby, Stephen urged. Clementine, you okay? Sandra called. Clementine looked over at her with a big smile. Oh yeah, I feel great. Why are you acting that way? Sandra asked. Don't worry about it. Stephen spoke, shaking the liquor bottle with a smirk. You spiked her drink? Sandra asked in surprise. I was just trying to get her to loosen up, Stephen said. We've got to go. Sandra shot him a glare, yanking Clementine off his lap. Clementine, we're going home. Already? Clementine asked. Sandra? Stephen tried. Sandra ignored him. Let's go, Clem. Sandra wrapped her arm around the girl, helping her friend into the car. Why did we have to leave? Clementine complained. Clem, don't be mad at me, Sandra sighed. It's for your own good. I'm not mad, Clementine said. Good. She drove slowly. Once she got to a red light, she examined her friend's face. Are you okay? You look sick. Stop the car. Sandra did, and Clementine threw the door open, vomiting onto the ground. They drove on in silence until they got to Clementine's home. Sandra helped Clementine into the house. You okay? My head is killing me. Clementine groaned. You'll feel better tomorrow, Sandra said, helping her into bed. Get some rest. I'll come check on you in the morning. Okay. Clementine woke up to a pounding in her head. She groaned, reaching into her desk drawer and downing some aspirin. Oh God. Her head was killing her. She had a hangover. It was still dark. She imagined it was the middle of the night. She could only wonder where the hell Sandra was. Suddenly her phone rang, startling her. She quickly answered it. Mama? Clementine. Thank God. Are you okay, baby? Came her mother's frantic voice. Yes, I'm fine, Mom, Clementine said. What's wrong? I've been trying to call you all day. Calls kept getting dropped, Diana said. Did something happen? Clementine asked nervously. Your father got into something with some crazy guy at the hotel. Diana told her. Is he hurt? Clementine questioned in concern. He's resting right now. They're not letting us leave and they're not telling us what's going on, Diana said. Wait, Mum. What are you talking about? Clementine asked. Look at the news, Clementine. Clementine looked in confusion before turning on the TV. What she saw made her heart stop. Oh my God, this is a joke, right? I'm afraid not, Diana said. What's happening, Mama? Clementine stammered. I don't know. Diana replied. Keep the doors locked. Don't let anyone inside. Oh, okay. Clementine nodded, even though her mother couldn't see it. I'll call you as soon as I find something out, Diana said. Okay. I love you, Mum. Clementine replied. Love you too, baby. Stay safe. And with that she hung up. Clementine's heart jumped when she heard a banging at the door. She made her way downstairs to see what it was. She slowly approached the door. She didn't want to open it. She didn't know who or what was out there. The banging continued, then a voice spoke. Clementine. Let me in. Sandra? She opened the door. Yes. She allowed the girl in. Sandra's eyes were full of fear. What happened? Clementine asked. You're bleeding. Why, yeah. How'd that happen? Clementine demanded, protectively. Victoria and Gabriel were arguing, in the room. We heard Tori scream, so we went in to try to help. Sandra explained. What happened? Clementine asked again. I grabbed Gabe and the dick bit me, she said. Bit you? Clementine asked, confused. Yeah. Sandra nodded. Can you believe that? Let me get you some bandages. Clementine offered, leading her to the couch to sit down. All right. Did you see the news? Clementine asked. The crazies? Sandra questioned back. Yeah. I bet those people were just on drugs. Sandra said. What time is it? Clementine looked to the clock, 3:52 a.m. Let's go to bed. Sandra suggested. All right, Clementine agreed. How's your headache? Sandra asked her. It's worse, Clementine whispered. My dad is hurt. What happened? Sandra asked, concerned. One of the crazies. Clementine said. Coincidence? Clementine shrugged. Who knows? I'm sure he'll be fine. Clementine sighed. I hope so. Night, Clem. Night. Clementine jerked awake at the sound of her name being called. See, Clem? Sandra? She asked. You okay? Your phone, Sandra mumbled weakly. Clementine sent her a worried look, before picking up her phone and playing the message. "Clementine, baby, if you can hear this, call the police. We love you." "Mom," she called, knowing her mom couldn't hear her. "We love you." "Mommy," she called again, knowing there was nothing she could do. Knowing she had no idea what was going on. "We love W." "What was that?" Sandra asked. I don't know." She sniffed, fighting back tears. "Something isn't right, Sandra." No point in Sandra suddenly started coughing wildly. "You okay?" Clementine asked, kneeling beside the other girl. "I don't feel too good," Sandra admitted. Clementine felt her head. "You got a fever. You're really hot." She stood back up. "I'll get you some water. Try to rest some more." "Okay, Mom," Sandra joked. Both girls flinched when a loud scream suddenly ripped through the air. What was that?" Sandra asked. "I don't know," Clementine replied. "I'm going to get my father's gun," she said. Sandra nodded. Clementine went and got the gun and loaded it. Her parent never let her use it. They didn't want her to be exposed to gun violence. It was just for safety purposes. She didn't even know how to shoot it. As she walked through the living room, she could hear more and more screams. Clementine was horrified. She dashed back into her room. "I don't know what's going on," she squeaked. "Sandra?" She slowly approached the girl, noticing she was laying unresponsive. "Sandra?" She tried to shake her, tearing falling from her eyes. "Wake up." Nothing. Clementine felt for a pulse, then started to perform CPR. Right before she could do a compression, Sandra's eyes shot open. "Sandra, you're okay?" Clementine looked into her friend's eyes, but they didn't look the same. She jumped back in fear. "Are you oh?" she screamed as Sandra suddenly lunged at her. "Stop. What are you doing?" Clementine cried. Her friend only growled in response. Clementine then realized she was trying to bite her. Her friend was acting like the crazies on the TV. "Get away from me." She ran from the room, slamming the door. She ran downstairs, still carrying her father's gun. Panicked, she threw the front door open and looked outside. There was a man on the ground. He was surrounded by several other people. Clementine craned her neck to get a better look and almost vomited. They were reading him. Blood was spilling onto the ground around him. She slammed the door shut and ran into the bathroom. She pulled out her phone and dialed 911. The line was down. Girl felt her heart pound as she could hear Sandra banging on the door above her. She could still hear screams outside, coming from a distance. She knew she had to get out of there. It wasn't safe. Clementine had made up her mind, it wasn't safe. She had to leave. Hopefully things would get sorted out and she could come back home in a few days, but she needed to find somewhere else to go until then. She looked around the house for a spare bag, as hers was in her room, and there was no way she was going back in there. Not while Sandra was wanting to rip her face off. Once she found a bag, she took it. She walked around the house and began to stuff it full of anything she might need, including a flashlight, a handful of batteries, a sleeping bag, a few changes of clothing and some personal hygiene products, as well as a lighter, a box of matches, and many other items. She thought on anything she was forgetting. She made her way to the kitchen, filling the bag with many non-cooked meals. Food and water were her main concern, and she made sure to pocket some pre-packaged trail rations and throw in a few cans and snacks, as well as water bottles into the backpack. While in the kitchen, she dug in a drawer, pulling out 2 walkie-talkies. She stared at them for a while, remembering all the conversations she would have with her parents. It was as if her eyes were attached to the devices by a sentimental feeling of sadness. She quickly stuffed them into the bag and kept moving. She walked into the living room and looked for anything worth value. She picked up her father's hat. She remembered when she was younger she'd wear that thing every time her parents left. But as she got older, Sandra had told her it was stupid to cover up her hair. She didn't care if she looked stupid. If her parents were gone, it was all she had left of them. She placed the hat on her head. She wondered if her parents were okay. It had sounded like they were in trouble. She glanced around the room, eyes falling on a family portrait. She looked at it for a moment, deciding she couldn't leave it behind. She shoved it into her backpack and made her way for the back door. She walked out of the house, heart heavy. As she shut the door, she took a moment to think about how this might be the last time she sees her home for a while. She felt homesick already, but she couldn't go back there. Not now at least. Clementine swallowed and put on a brave face. Relax, Clem, she told herself. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade, she sighed. This is some sour lemonade. She quickly pulled herself together and started walking towards the front of the house, making sure to be as quiet as possible. As soon as she reached the front yard, Clementine let out a startled yelp as a bullet whistled past her ear. She immediately ducked down. I found the bastard, a voice yelled out. Clementine took note that whoever was shooting at her had amazing aim, as they shot again, nearly hitting her. She thought for a moment she was going to die. Stay down. Georgia State Patrol. The same voice called. Dude, it's not going to listen to that, came a younger-sounding voice. Don't shoot me, Clementine suddenly cried out, standing up and raising her hands in a non-threatening manner. The two approached her slowly, one of them a cop dressed in uniform and holding his gun at ready. The two men looked at her in disbelief. Jesus Christ, it's a kid. The officer lowered his gun. I thought you were one of those things. We're sorry about that, the other man said gently to the terrified teen. Well, Andre's sorry about that. Clementine gave a quick nod. It's Officer Mitchell, Andre said. They walked closer to the girl. My name's Sean. Sean Green, this is Andre, the younger boy introduced. Officer Mitchell, the officer repeated. Hi, I'm Clementine. Clementine greeted. Did you see any of those things? Sean asked. One of them just got our buddy Chet. I saw them earlier, from my window, Clementine explained. You did? Sean asked. They were eating someone, the girl whimpered. God. Sean looked horrified by the news. And there's one in my house, Clementine said. No kidding? Andre asked. My friend, the crazy people got her, Clementine said. Shit. Andrea swore, the one we're looking for is still in the neighborhood. Clementine nervously looked around at that. Sean noticed her nervousness and asked, Where are your parents? They're not here. They're in Savannah, Clementine responded. Savannah, that's a ways away, Andre said. Yeah, Clementine muttered. Hey, look, what do you say you come back with us? I'll take you to my family's farm, Sean offered. It's not safe to be out here alone. Okay, the girl agreed. Suddenly their attention was attracted by a growl and they turned to see walkers heading toward them. Oh shit. It's Chet, Sean announced. Andre pulled out his gun. Let's go. Get into my car, the officer ordered. Go. Clementine and Sean quickly ran towards the car, jumping inside. Come on, Andre, Sean yelled. Andre lowered his gun, unable to pull the trigger when it came to his friend. He whipped around and ran towards his car. Throwing the door open, he got into the driver's seat. He quickly shoved the key into the ignition, starting the car immediately. They sped past the walkers and off into the night. The drive to the farm was a quiet and depressing one. No one knew what to say, and the silence spoke enough for them. Clementine couldn't be more than happy to get out of the car as the silence made her anxious. You okay, little missy? Andre asked in a concerned voice. Yes, sir. Clementine quietly responded. All right. If you insist. The officer replied. He looked to Sean. Say hi to your dad for me. Yeah. Sean muttered in response. I'm sorry, Sean. Chet was a good dude, Andre sighed. One of the best, Sean said gently. Take care you two. Andre nodded toward the pair before driving off. I'm sorry about your friend, Clementine said to Sean. Sean looked away, putting on a sullen look. Come on, kid. Clementine followed after him. The two made it onto the porch and Sean finally looked to the teen. You hungry? Yes, Clementine admitted. I'll get you something to eat. I know it's late, Sean mumbled. Thank you, Clementine replied. Don't mention it, and here, he reached out a hand, let me take that bag. Huh? Your bag, it looks heavy, Sean pointed out. Clementine tried to refuse. It's okay, I can know. Sean ignored her protest and took the bag. Clementine was actually a bit relieved to have the weight of the bag taken from her. Thank you. Suddenly the front door opened and an older man came out. Both Clementine and Sean turned to look at the man. "Thank God you're okay," the man said. Sean pulled him into a hug. "I was worried it'd be bad here too. Been quiet as usual the past couple days," the man replied. "Old Bracken down the way thinks his mare's gone lame, but that ain't nothing new. I ran into Andre outside of Atlanta, and Chet." Sean lowered his head a bit as he mentioned his friend. "He got killed," he said sadly. "No?" the old man gasped. "You're kidding?" Sean narrowed his eyes. "Those things got him." He practically snapped. "Dad, I don't know what's going on." "I'm so sorry, Sean." The man apologized. Clementine was feeling as if she was intruding. She shifted from foot to foot. Finally, the man turned to look at her. "I see you brought a guest." "Yeah, this is Clementine. Her parents are in Savannah," Sean explained. "Pleasure to meet you, Clementine," Herschel said. "Same to you, sir," Clementine replied. "You don't have to call me, sir. I'm not that old." Clementine didn't respond. Instead she offered him a tiny smile. "Sean, run on in and check on your sister," the man said. Sean gave a nod and went to do as the man, who Clementine assumed was his father, told. "I'm Herschel Green." The old man introduced himself. "What do you say, you come inside and get something to eat?" Clementine smiled. "I'd appreciate it." "All right, sweetheart." Herschel motioned her into the house. "Supper's done for the night, but I'm sure you could use something, get your mind off this craziness." "Yes, thank you." The two of them walked into the house and Herschel led Clementine into a dining room area. Clementine looked around, taking in the beauty of the place. "Your house looks nice," she said. "I appreciate that," Herschel said. "Go on and take a seat." Clementine did so and watched as the man started to move around the kitchen. "So how old are you, darling?" Herschel questioned. "I'm 15, Clementine replied. "Sophomore?" Herschel asked. "Yeah." Clementine nodded. "You're not picky, are you?" Herschel asked her. "Not really." "So you're fine with a breakfast-type dinner?" he asked. Clementine giggled. "Yes." "Good." He handed her a plate which Clementine gratefully accepted. "Leftovers, but they're still good," he commented. "Thanks." "I can't imagine what you've been through, Clementine," Herschel said. Clementine lowered her head. She didn't want to think about that. Clementine looked up as she heard footsteps and saw Sean enter the room. "Hey Dad. So I'm thinking, first thing tomorrow we gotta reinforce the fence around the farm," Sean said. "With what happened to your friend maybe that's not such a bad idea," Herschel agreed. "I can help," Clementine offered. "Sure," Sean said. "We can use as much help as we can get." Herschel spoke. "House is full up with mine. We got a displaced family of 3 sleeping in the barn. You're welcome to rest there when you're done with your meal. I really appreciate all you're doing for me." Herschel chuckled. "Stop with all the thank yous. I'm sorry." "Hey, it's no need to be so formal, you can relax here." I mean." Clementine trailed off. Herschel just shook his head. "You good here?" Sean asked, placing her bag on the ground beside her. "Yeah. Thanks, Sean." "No problem." Sean nodded. "Night." "Good night," Clementine replied. Soon after the man left. Pain clenched her heart as Clementine stood in the barn. She made sure to be quiet as not to wake the family that was already in there. She slowly dug through her bag. Pulling out her sleeping bag, she set it out. It didn't look too comfortable but she guessed it could be worse. She laid herself down on the sleeping bag and tried her best to fall asleep. She couldn't sleep. She missed her house. She missed her friends. She missed her family. She was hoping this was a nightmare and she was going to wake up, but she knew that wasn't the case. Swallowing a sob, she told herself not to cry. The more she tried to hold back tears, the harder it became, and eventually she lost what little control she had over her emotion and tears started pouring down her cheeks. She was shaking with silent sobs as she muffled her cries into the pillow. She didn't know how long she cried, but before too long she had cried herself to sleep. Soft footsteps interrupted her dreams. She could feel a warm heat surrounding her. She felt a hand reach out to shake her and a rough voice speak, "Hey, get up." Clementine shot upright at the voice, causing the man to chuckle. As she sat up, a small cotton blanket, which she hadn't remembered falling asleep with, fell to her lap. Clementine rubbed the sleep from her eyes, that were still sore from all the crying she had done the night before. She looked down to her lap at the small blanket and stared at it in confusion. "Did I startle you?" the man with the mustache asked the teen. Clementine looked up before crossing her arms. "No," she answered. "Sure I didn't," the man said sarcastically. "I'm itchy," Clementine groaned. "Well, you slept in a barn, little lady. Lucky you don't have spiders in your hair." Spiders? She was wide awake now. Tossing the blanket off her lap, she hopped to her feet. The man laughed at her reaction. "Saw you shivering last night, figured you needed a blanket. We had a spare." "Oh?" Clementine was surprised. "Thank you." "Don't mention it," he replied. "I'm Kenny." "Clementine." "Well, Clementine, you should get yourself up if you want any breakfast." "Breakfast?" "That's what I said," Kenny replied. "Pancakes and eggs." Clementine sighed. She remembered waking up early mornings to those kinds of foods. "I'll be out in a minute." "All right," Kenny agreed, leaving her alone in the barn. Clementine took a deep breath. She couldn't cry. Not in front of all those people. Who knew how they'd react? She made sure to keep herself composed. She folded up the sleeping bag and the lightweight blanket. She shoved her sleeping bag back into her backpack before pulling the bag onto her shoulders. She stood and made her way out of the barn. She walked into the house to join the group around the table. "Morning, darling," Herschel greeted kindly. "Morning." "Hey, Clementine," Sean greeted. "Hi," Clementine said back. "This is my sister, Beth." Sean motioned toward a young girl who sat beside him. She looked around 12 years old. The girl waved shyly. Clementine smiled at her. "I'm Clementine. Nice to meet you, Beth." "You too." "I see you're carrying that heavy bag around again," Sean said to Clementine. "Well, all my stuff is in it," Clementine said, placing it on the floor as she took a seat at the table. "I swear you're gonna break your back, lugging that thing around," Sean replied. "My school bag is heavier," Clementine claimed. "That's not good. Little girl like you shouldn't be doing heavy lifting," Kenny said. "I'm 15, not a little girl," Clementine huffed in response, rolling her eyes. "Whatever you say, kid," Kenny laughed. "All right, so as soon as breakfast is finished, we can start working on this fence," Sean spoke. "Sounds good to me," Clementine replied. "So, Clementine," Kenny started. Clementine turned to the man. "Yes? What do you do for fun? Party? Drink?" Kenny asked. "No way." The girl shook her head. "Really?" Kenny sounded skeptical. "Yeah. Why would I?" Clementine asked. "Well, I was a teenager once too," Kenny said. "Not all teenagers are the same," Clementine stated simply. "That's right. They're not." The blonde-haired woman spoke. "Clementine, is it?" "Yes." The girl nodded. "That's a very pretty name," the woman said. Clementine smiled. "Thanks." "I'm Katja," the woman said before motioning to a little boy beside her. "And this is Ken Jr. We call him Duck though," Kenny added. "Duck?" Clementine echoed. "Yep." Kenny smirked. "Nothing bothers him. Like water off a duck's back." "That's a valuable trait," Sean said. "Yep," Kenny agreed. "Hey, Clementine, do you like cartoons?" Duck suddenly asked the teen. "Not really," Clementine admit. "I do," Beth spoke. "There's this one show where this guy has super strength." Clementine watched as the boy yammered on, but he didn't stop talking and it took all her willpower not to let out a groan. Seeing the family's laugh and joke was only increasing Clementine's depression. "Do you mind if I use your shower?" Clementine asked, interrupting Duck's story. She figured a nice shower would help her feel better. At least she hoped it would. "Of course not," Herschel replied. "Beth, show Clementine where the bathroom is." "Okay." This little girl hopped from her chair and waited for Clementine to do the same. Clementine grabbed her backpack, slinging back on. "This way," Beth called, leading Clementine out of the kitchen and down the hall. Once they got to the bathroom, the younger girl practically shoved a wash rug and towel into Clementine's hands before running off to go play with Duck. Clementine allowed her backpack to slide off her shoulders, sitting the bag on the floor. She turned and shut the bathroom door before stripping out of her clothes. Clementine ducked her head under the shower, allowing the water to sluice over her face and body. She closed her eyes as the water rained on her, hoping it could somehow wash her pain away. She washed her body, her hair, her face, making sure she didn't miss a spot. She knew she should have just taken a quick shower, but she didn't. She continued to stand under the spray of the shower, feeling the grit wash off her body, shampooing another time for good measure. She stood there not wanting to get out, even as the water turned cold. She felt tears run down her cheeks, but the water washed them away. Finally, she took a deep breath and turned the water off. Climbing out of the shower, she shivered a bit as a cold breeze hit her. She quickly dried herself off and dug in her bag for a change of clothes and her toothbrush. She dressed herself quickly, unable to bear the cold, then stood in front of the sink to brush her teeth. For a while, she stared into the fogged-up mirror, making sure her face didn't give away signs that she was crying. Finally clean, she placed her things back into her bag and slung it back over her shoulders before walking out of the bathroom. "Dad, we're gonna build a fence. There's a tractor and everything." Duck squealed excitedly, running circles around his father. "We better get going or we won't hear the end of it," Kenny sighed. "Well, we should get to work. We've all seen what those things can do out there, so the faster we get this fence up, the better." "I want to build a fence," Duck exclaimed. "Yeah? Well, I need a good foreman. You can sit on the tractor and yell at me whenever I take a water break," Sean said. "On the tractor? Cool." The boy beamed. "Duck and I will hop to it," Sean said. "How would you like to keep me company for a bit?" Katja asked Clementine. "We can visit." Clementine smiled. "Sure." "You have such pretty hair," the woman commented. "Thanks. It gets tangled easy," Clementine said, sounding slightly annoyed. "Maybe when we get a chance I can brush it for you?" Katja smiled. "Would you?" Clementine beamed. "Of course. It's nice to be able to relax for a while," Clementine said. Katja couldn't agree more. "It is. It's almost like we didn't see people eating each other for the past 3 days. It's peaceful here, no?" "How did you handle getting through the city?" Clementine asked. "Kenny just drove. We passed so many people that needed help. And we just passed people over some. Just. It's okay. It's fine, you don't have to say any more," the 15-year-old said. "I'm sorry." "I'm fine, honey. I want to go home tomorrow, but even then I can't take away the things Duck went through. Don't you want to go back to the moment before you knew about all of this?" "Anybody in their right mind would. Families and barbecues," Clementine muttered. "All of those things," Katja agreed. "Those are the things we live for, right? With those gone, what's the point?" Clementine sighed. "So, what did you do before this?" "I am a veterinarian back in Fort Lauderdale, like Herschel here, except more with dogs and cats and not horses." "What do your parents do?" "My mom's a doctor and my dad's an engineer," the girl said. "Those are good jobs," Katja told her. "Yeah. What do you want to be?" Katja asked. "I don't know yet," Clementine mumbled. All she wanted right now was to go home. She sat beside the woman for a while, the two of them making small talk until Katja had to go to the bathroom. At that point Clementine was getting bored and decided to go check in on everyone else. Clementine walked towards Kenny, deciding to check up on him first. "Hi, Kenny. How's your son doing?" "Good, I think. Katja's got a sister up in Memphis. We were coming back from visiting her. We were at a gas station and some guy grabbed my boy. I thought he was kidnapping him. I was on the fucker in about 2 seconds and... Christ. Just lucky I was there. We saw a lot of bodies before we stumbled upon Herschel's. But we're a tough family. Ain't nothing gonna faze us." "So what's your family's plan?" Clementine asked. "Get back on down to Lauderdale and let this mess get sorted out. Government will start handing out shots and the National Guard will do its thing. On the odd chance things got too bad, we could hop on my boat, I guess." "You've got a boat?" The girl sounded a bit excited. Kenny chuckled. I'm a commercial fisherman, catching mackerel, dolphin, whatever's biting and paying. Catcher, I wouldn't be wild about it, but the boat's not that bad. Can you drive? Kenny asked the teen. Clementine smiled. You know. Ever wanted to try? The man asked her. I don't know. Clementine shrugged. Seems scary. It's not that bad once you get used to it. Kenny replied. My dad let me try a few times. Clementine admit. How'd that end up? Kenny asked. Clementine didn't respond. Kenny laughed. Not too good, I assume? Do you need any help? Clementine asked him. No, I think I got it. Kenny replied. Okay, see you, I guess. Clementine awkwardly responded. Yep. Deciding that there was nothing much else to say to Kenny, Clementine turned to leave. She walked over to the back of the house where Sean and Duck were. Sean was hammering away on the fence while Duck was sitting on top of the tractor, daydreaming. Clementine made her way over to Duck and waved at him. Duck smiled and Clementine received a wave in return before the boy went back to pretending to turn the tractor's controls. Clementine, hey. He called, I'm gonna drive the tractor. I'm the foreman. Lift with your back, Sean. Clementine giggled, then walked over to Sean, who was still busy at work. Hey, Clementine. Can I help? Clementine asked. That'd be great. If you could cut those 2x4s to length, that'd sure speed things up. Okay. How hard could it be? Clementine wondered, making her way over to the wood Sean gestured towards. My dad doesn't know how bad it is, Sean sighed. No, he doesn't, Clementine agreed. I saw a guy in Atlanta kill a kid. A boy. Just shot him right in the face, Sean said. Was the kid one of the sea crazies? Clementine asked. I don't even know. He was either attacking the guy or asking for help. He didn't even hesitate. He just turned, put the barrel of the gun right between this kid's eyes and pulled the trigger. You don't see things like that. It's not like in the movies. Clementine didn't respond and Sean sighed. I shouldn't be talking about this with you. You're just a kid yourself. Sean apologized. No, it's okay. I don't mind. The girl replied. Did you have to do it? Sean asked suddenly. Do what? Clementine questioned back. Kill. Have you had to off one yet? Sean asked her. No. Clementine shook her head. I hope I don't have to. I'm just glad we're getting this fence built. Dad just wants to keep the family safe, and thinks inviting people in is a bigger threat than whatever's out there. I hope my parents are okay. Maybe it's not as bad out there, Sean said. That's probably all I need cut for now. Thanks. Hey, Sean, Clementine gently called. Yes? Thanks for helping me out there. No problem, kid. Couldn't leave you behind, Sean said. Anyway, when you see my dad around, he might want some help in the barn. Clementine looked over at the entrance to the hay-filled barn. She made her way over to the barn. Herschel was busy shoveling hay with a pitchfork. He looked to the young girl as she entered. Hey, Clementine. This farm is really pretty. The girl complimented. Hey, had someone told me 20 years ago I'd still be doing this, I would have told them that they were full of crap. Never was a plan, having a place like this. It was in the family, and I guess so was I. Family's important, it's all that matters. You agree with that? Herschel asked. Yeah, more than anything. Clementine replied. Your folks are in Savannah, right? Yeah. The girl nodded sadly. I'm sure they're fine, Herschel reassured her. I hope, Clementine sighed. Sorry, do you need any help? Suddenly a loud scream pierces the air. Clementine jumped. What the? Go. I'll get my gun, Herschel ordered. Clementine quickly flew past Katja and towards the source of the screams. Sean's leg was pinned down by the tractor. Monsters were attracted by Sean's screams and were making their way towards the fence. Duck was still seated on the tractor when suddenly, one of the monsters grabbed the boy, causing him to begin screaming as well. My leg is stuck. Help me, Sean yelled. Clementine froze for a moment before jumping into action. She still had her father's gun. She approached the walker that was holding onto Duck, quickly shooting it in the head. The noise made her ears ring, but she couldn't think about that. Katja ran over to her son and took him to safety. Sean. Clementine ran over to Sean to help him. She pulled him by his arms, but that did nothing. Get this tractor off of me. Help me. Please. Kenny climbed on top of the tractor. Starting it, he threw it into reverse, freeing Sean's leg, while Clementine used the gun to shoot another one of the walkers. Being so close, one of the monsters managed to grab the teenager, but Herschel shot it before it could do any damage. Clementine backed away from the fence, looking at the now dead monsters in horror. Everyone was silent, catching their breath and thanking God that no one was dead. Sean, God, are you okay? Herschel asked. I think so. Sean replied. Let's get him up. Herschel looked to Kenny. Help me get him into the house. Kenny gave a quick nod. Herschel and Kenny both stood on either side of Sean, helping to lift him up. Sean let out a groan of pain as they helped him into the house. Sean, are you okay? Beth immediately ran over to her brother once he was seated on the couch. I'm fine, Beth. He reassures the young girl. Sean was breathing ragged. Katja was trying to calm Duck, who was still shaken up by what had happened. Beth, Herschel called to his young daughter. The 12-year-old looked at him. Yes? Go bring my medical bag, Herschel demanded. The child gave a nod and ran off to do her father's bidding. Sean sighed. Do you see what I mean now, Dad? Those things, it's not safe here. If we take some time to get the fence, Herschel started. Who knows how long that will take? By then. Sean trailed off. What do you suggest? Herschel asked. I think we should go, Dad. What? Beth chimed in as she re-entered the room. Where would we go? She asked her brother, placing the medical bag down, beside Herschel. I don't know. Sean answered truthfully. But we can't stay here. Let me look at your leg. Herschel spoke firmly. Dad, Sean tried. Herschel ignored him, taking hold of Sean's leg. It's swollen to hell, that's for sure. Herschel muttered. Dad. Sean called louder. Are you listening to me? Herschel replied. I hear you. I don't need you to hear me. I need you to listen for once, Sean said. Herschel sighed. I'm listening. We have to leave, Dad. Sean softened his voice. I know you don't want to, but think about Beth. That could have been her. Herschel gave a sharp inhale, looking to his daughter for a few moments. Go pack your things, sweetie. What? Beth looked shocked by her father's sudden demand. It'll be okay, Herschel said. But, Daddy. Herschel stopped her protest. I said, go. Beth paused for a moment before rushing to pack her bag. I'll help her, Katja insisted, pulling Duck along with her. She followed after the young girl. Kenny, Herschel called. Yeah? Where are you and your family heading? Herschel asked, checking Sean's leg for any blood. As far away as possible, Kenny scoffed. Macon's the next stop, it's the closest. Mind if we go together? Herschel questioned, pulling bandages from the medical bag. He started to wrap his son's leg. Not really. Kenny replied. What about me? Clementine piped in. I think you're sticking with us, little lady, Kenny said. No way I'm letting you head out on your own. Clementine didn't complain. It wasn't like she had anywhere else to go. Clementine, Herschel didn't look up from his work as he spoke. In the next room, there's a closet filled with medical supplies. Okay, Clementine nodded, although the man wasn't looking at her. Go grab as much of it as you can. Herschel told her. Got it. Clementine ran off to do so. Sean winced in pain as Herschel continued to wrap his leg. Sorry, Herschel offered. Sean only nodded in response. Kenny, how's your truck coming along? Sean asked. It's running if that's what you mean, Kenny said. All right. Sean nodded. My truck works too. But you driving is not an option. Herschel motioned to the boy's leg. I guess I'm taking the wheel. You're sure you're up to that? Sean asked. I'm a lot more capable than you are at the moment. At that moment Clementine returned to the room, carrying a large bag. Thank you, Clementine, Sean said to the girl. Wait, there's something else, Clementine said, once again leaving the room, leaving the three men slightly befuddled. Moment later she returned carrying a set of crutches. She placed them against the wall near Sean. Found these in the closet. Figured you could use them. the girl explained. "Thanks Clementine," Sean said. "If you got anything to pack, make sure you do it now," Kenny said. "We're heading out soon as you're ready." Everyone nodded in understanding. "So," Kenny spoke up, drawing the attention to him. "Macon it is?" The group had grabbed everything they could think would be of use. They packed the trucks full and began their drive toward Macon. The first 10 minutes of the ride were fine. Clementine and Duck had talked for a while. But after a while Clementine started to grow annoyed of Duck's excessive talking. She started to only respond to him with one-word sentences. Duck then became bored and he decided to start poking the older girl, trying to further push her buttons. Clementine managed to keep calm as she spoke, putting on an air of authority to hide her irritation. "Stop it." Clementine finally groaned out. "I'm not doing anything," Duck claimed. "You keep tapping me," Clementine said, rolling her eyes. "I'm not," Duck exclaimed with a laugh. Clementine didn't respond. She looked away only for the little boy to start poking her again. "Oh my God," Clementine grumbled. "Please stop. You're invading my personal space." The boy raised a brow. "What?" "Stop touching me," Clementine ordered. "I'm not," Duck replied. "Kids, knock it off," Katja called out. "It's him," Clementine said, shooting Duck a look. "This is why we didn't have 2 kids," Kenny said with a laugh. Despite her annoyance, Clementine was starting to feel a bit more comfortable riding with the family. She still felt homesick, but their presence helped her just a little bit. Clementine glanced back, looking out the window. Herschel, Sean, and Beth were all riding in Sean's truck behind them. Clementine turned to face forward, leaning back in her seat. She huffed as Duck started poking her once again. A few more minutes passed and Duck had finally stopped bothering her. Clementine looked over to see the little boy had fallen asleep, and it wasn't long before Clementine followed suit. By the time Clementine had woke up, the car was slowing down. "What's going on?" the girl asked, rubbing sleep out of her eyes. She looked out the window as the car slowed to a stop. "This is as far as we're going." Herschel pulled up beside them, rolling down the window. "What's the problem?" "Car's out of gas," Kenny called back. Herschel gave a nod. Clementine looked to Duck, giving the boy a tap. Duck batted at the girl's hand. "Duck, wake up." She shook the boy a few times. Soon the child opened his eyes. "Are we there yet?" "Yeah, kids." Kenny spoke. "We're here." The group exited the car, staying as quiet as possible. Clementine took a look around. The streets were deserted, car windows were broken, and blood was everywhere. The group of 7 stood the middle of a street, many stores surrounding them. "Beth, stay close," Herschel called to his daughter. Beth nodded. The group moved carefully. Clementine sending a worried glance to Sean, who was using his crutches, while trying his best not to trip over any of the things that littered across the ground. Once the group reached the corner of the street, Duck called out, "Look." Everyone looked in the direction Duck was pointing to see a person crouched low. Kenny took a few steps forward, waving his arms. "Hey there. You friendly? Truck's run out of gas." Kenny," Clementine called slowly. "What is it?" Kenny asked. Clementine only stared to the figure with a look of horror. Suddenly the person stood from their crouched position and growled at them. The group realizes that the figure is one of the monsters and Kenny lets out a yell. "Fuck." His shout attracts more of the things, and they start coming forward until the group is surrounded. "We're trapped," Katja exclaimed. The group looked around, frantically searching for an exit. Duck lets out a cry, as one of the things push him over, attempting to bite him. "No! No!" the boy yells. Clementine quickly reaches for her father's gun, but before she can do anything, a loud bang fills the air. Blood covers the boy and Duck pulls himself up, staring forward in shock. Everyone looks to see a young woman, dressed in a long-sleeved white dress shirt and black skirt. She has brown hair that falls to her shoulders. She fires a few more rounds while Kenny and Katja pull Duck into their arms. "Run!" another voice yells, a male this time. The group looks to see an Asian man wearing a cap. The group does as he commands, running quickly into the drug store. Their saviors follow behind them. The man slams the gate closed and does a quick job of locking it. The second everyone gets inside the drugstore, Clementine took a look around. Katja started cleaning a traumatized duck off while Herschel did his best to comfort Beth, who was whimpering in fear. "We can't take risk like this," a woman angrily spat, walking up to the woman who had saved them. "And we can't just let people die, either," the sharpshooter snapped back. "When I say that door stays shut no matter what, I fucking mean it. We don't know who these people are, they could be dangerous," the woman spat. "Worst, they could have led them right to us," an old man butt in. "Where the hell is your humanity? They would have died out there," their savior hissed. "Then we let them," the old man growled. "We can't trust anybody. We already know that." Clementine crosses his arms. Sean, who had taken a seat, needing to get off his leg, spoke. "Everyone calm down, please. We're just people trying to avoid those things, just like you." "You think I care about that?" the angry woman growled. "Please, we have kids," Sean said desperately. "You'll have to excuse her," the woman in the skirt spoke. "The hell he or anyone will. This is about survival, do you guys not see what's happening?" the other woman snapped. "We have kids with us," Sean repeated. Beth tapped her father on the shoulder. "Daddy, I need the restroom." "I'd go out there again in a second," the Asian man said. "I bet you would," the woman snapped. Beth continued to tap her father, who didn't respond, but instead spoke to arguing adults. "Everyone calm down. We don't mean any harm." Beth let out a sigh and decided to just go. She looked around until she spotted a door in the corner of the room. She started to make her way towards where the restroom was. "They've got kids, Lily," the Asian man said. "Those things outside don't care. Maybe you should go join them then, you'll have something in common." "God damn it, Lily. You have to control these people." "Carly and Glenn just ran out there," the woman, Lily, huffed. "I don't give a flying fuck. We're in a war zone here," the old man grumbled. "Jesus Christ. Can you guys believe this lady?" Kenny asked in disbelief. "That lady's my daughter. I can see the resemblance. My son won't grow up to be a raging fucking lunatic," Kenny snapped. "Son?" the old man repeated, turning to face Katja and Duck, his eyes widened. "Holy shit. Son of a bitch, one of them is bitten." "No," Clementine said quickly. "None of us were bit." "He wasn't bitten," Sean stated firmly. The old man shot Sean a glare. "Hell, he wasn't. We have to end this now." Kenny moved to stand in front of him. "Over my dead body." "We'll dig one hole," the old man replied. "No. I'm cleaning him up. There's no bite. He's fine," Katja shouted. The old man shook his head. "Don't you fucking people get it? We've already seen this happen. We let someone with a bite stay and we all end up bitten." "Shut up," Kenny snapped. The old man only continued. "We gotta throw him out or smash his head in." "Kenny," Katja shouted, horrified by the old man's words. "Stop him." "Dad, it's just a boy." It's Lily tried. "Lily, I'll handle this." Lily's father cut her off. Lily shook her head. "But your heart, Dad. You need to calm down." "He's not bit." "You're just making wild assumptions," Clementine chimed in. "You think I'm going to listen to what a little girl has to say?" Lily's father replied to the teen, who fell silent. "And you think I'm going to let you put your hands on my family?" Kenny shot at the man. "Nobody threatens my boy. I'm protecting my kid with my life." "Everyone chill the fuck out," Carly yelled. "Nobody is doing anything," Lily growled. "Shut up, Lily." The old man snapped at his daughter before turning to Carly. "And you? Shut the fuck up. They will find us and they will get in here, and none of this will fucking matter. But right now we're about to be trapped in here with one of those things." "What the hell are you talking about?" Kenny growled. "He's bitten." "That's how you turn." "He's not bitten," Katja said. "Please, stop this. It's upsetting him." "Oh. I'm upsetting him? Upsetting is getting eaten alive." The man huffed. "Dad, we get it, it's a big deal," Lily said, tugging her father's arm. The man shook his daughter away, glaring at her. "Do you? You're not fucking acting like it. We can figure this out without killing anybody." "There's another way," Sean said, trying to calm the angry old man. He's right. Herschel spoke. We can all just talk this out. The angry old man scoffed. Yeah, with a shovel. Kenny growled. Do you really want to fucking die so badly? Because if you keep on pushing, I'm going to fucking murder you. Everyone, please, calm down. Clementine begged. She always hated seeing people fight. Dad. Beth called, but her soft voice went unheard. Listen man, we don't have to go this route. Sean called. Then what route do you want to go? I'm not about to sit in here and wait to die. The old man snapped at Sean. Shut the fuck up, Kenny snapped. Or what? You gonna whoop me? You and what homo parade? The man laughed. Little boy. Before you eat your mommy, you can watch your dad get his nose broken. Stop fighting. Clementine begged. Kenny, he's upsetting the children, Katja said, trying to make sure ever. I'm gonna kill him, Kat. Just worry about Duck, Kenny said angrily. Will you please stop? He wasn't bit, Clementine exclaimed. Shut it kid, Larry snapped at the girl. Kenny glared at the man. Don't you fucking talk to her like that. Everything will be fine, if everyone just calms down, Herschel said in a calm voice. Dad. Beth called a little louder. Yes, darling. Herschel responded finally. There's someone in there, Beth said, motioning towards the door. It's just locked. Key's most likely behind the counter. Herschel replied. Hey, I'm not the bad guy here, I'm just looking out for my daughter. Lily's father said. No, you're just the guy arguing for killing a kid, Kenny snapped. He's covered in muck. She'll find the bite. Watch. She won't. Kenny growled. And if she does? The first thing he'll do is sink his teeth into his mom's face. Then once she's dead he'll probably pounce on your little girl, he said to Herschel, whose face paled at the thought. Then we deal with it then. But right now we're just freaking everybody out, Herschel said, trying to stay calm. Then get ready to deal with it because that boy is bitten. He's bitten and he's gonna bite his mum, then he's gonna bite your girl. The angry man said. She'll turn fast and then there'll be 3. Then he'll probably go for the kid over there. He motioned towards Clementine. That boy is the ballgame. Which pretty much seals the deal for me. We're throwing him out. He's a little boy, I think we can handle him. Herschel replied. A little boy? He'll be an uncontrollable man-eater. Hey, man. Just sit down. Sean called. You shut the fuck up. You think I'm going to take orders from a cripple? The old man snapped at Sean. Sean shot him a glare. I'm not going to let you threaten these people. Oh, believe me, it's not a threat. It's not gonna happen. Kenny growled. It is and we're tossing him out now. The angry old man yelled. No, Clementine shouted terrified, she squeezed her eyes shut. Meanwhile Beth was shaking the bathroom door handle trying to get the door open. No, he's not bitten. Look. Look, he's clean. Not a scratch. Katja spoke a hint of urgency in her voice. The old man hesitantly walked over and checked the boy, staying on his guard as if he was scared the child would turn and attack him from there. Finally the man straightened up, pausing for a moment before he huffed. I'm sorry. Not a goddamn scratch, what do you think about that? Kenny snapped once the old man had finished checking the little boy. I said I was fucking sorry. The man grumbled. Kenny nodded. Good. Look, Lily started, we're fish in a barrel here. With all the commotion we could be under siege and any minute. Then we better start fortifying this place, Kenny said firmly. I'll work on getting that window barricaded. Good. Dad, sit down. Lily ordered. Larry shook his head. I'm fine, Lily. Suddenly, a high-pitched scream filled the air. Clementine flinched as Herschel quickly raced towards the bathroom. Sean immediately forced himself up and made his way toward his sister as fast as he could on crutches. The girl was on the ground, kicking at a walker, a look of fear in her eyes. Jesus, Larry exclaimed. A look of shock and fear crossed everyone's face. Beth, Herschel yelled out, rushing to the child's side. Get away from her, you bastard, Herschel yelled, shoving the monster away from his daughter. The little girl sat, crying on the ground. Clementine quickly rushed to her to comfort her. Herschel was struggling with the walker. Sean let out a shout as it moved closer to biting his father. Dad. Before anything could happen, a gun sounded and a bullet flew straight into the monster's head, killing it instantly. Herschel quickly ran to his sobbing daughter and wrapped his arms around her. "Beth, look at me," he demanded. "Are you okay?" The little girl only cried more. Clementine patted the child's back to calm her. Guys," Glenn called gently, turning towards the doors. The loud gunfire had drawn the attention of more walkers that were now pounding against the boarded windows. The chubby man who stood on lookout took a step back in fear, before quickly running to the farthest wall. "Everybody down. Stay quiet," Lily whispered harshly. Worry and panic kept the group quiet as they listened fearfully to the banging. "They're gonna get in," Larry whispered. "Shut up," Kenny ordered. Suddenly the sound of gunshots rang through the air. "Is that the military?" Herschel asked. "I don't know," Lily replied. "Thank God for whatever it is," Glenn muttered. They all stood once the noise faded away. Once the coast was clear, Larry started to go off again. "We almost died because of this bitch and her itchy trigger finger. That was stupid. That was." The man cut himself off with a groan of pain. "Dad," Lily cried out, rushing to her father's side. Larry clutched his chest, shouting in pain before collapsing onto the floor. Clementine let out a gasp. "What's wrong with him?" "It's his heart," Lily explained. Larry groaned. "My pills." Nitroglycerin pills?" Kajar asked. "Yes. We're out. We've been trying to get into the pharmacy since we got here. Please, try to get in there. Behind the counter, where the pills are," Lily begged. Kenny looked away. "Kenny, we have to do something," Herschel said, standing up once his daughter had calmed down some. Clementine made sure to stay beside the younger girl to keep her calm. Kenny let out a sigh. "Fine. We'll figure it out." Lily gave a small smile. "Thank you so much. We need nitroglycerin pills. Please get in there. I'll keep an eye on my dad. Everyone else should get comfy and look for anything useful. We could be in here a while," Kenny said. "I'm starting to think this drugstore isn't a permanent solution," Glenn spoke up. "You're right, this ain't exactly FT. Knox. What do you suggest?" Herschel asked the young man. "We need as much gas as possible so we can all get out of downtown Macon. Fast." "I'll agree with that," Herschel stated. "Then I'll head out and get gas. There's a motel not too far from here, out towards the end of Peachtree. I'll work my way towards it and then loop back, siphoning what I can," Glenn suggested. "That would help quite a bit," Herschel said. "Yeah, it's gotta get done. Plus, I'm quick and I know Macon," Glenn said. "That's not too safe," Clementine spoke up. The men looked to her. "You could get hurt," Clementine said. "I'll be fine. I know the ins and out," Glenn replied. "This is a bad idea," Clementine sighed. "But it's all we got," Kenny said. Clementine nodded. She quickly dug into her bag, pulling out her walkie-talkies. "We should at least have a source of communication. Here's a walkie-talkie, in case you get in a tight spot. Hopefully you won't need it." "Clever girl," Herschel commented. Glenn accepted the walkie, smiling at the teen's quick thinking. "Cool. I got the other one," Clementine informed. "That's good," Herschel said. "Check in with her and get back here as soon as you can." Glenn nodded, attaching the walkie-talkie to his belt loop. Kenny was speaking to the others, taking on the role of leader. "And, you, what's your name?" "It's Lily. My dad's Larry." Lily calmly introduced herself. "Keep a good eye on him. We'll work on getting you your medicine." Lily nodded. "And you?" Kenny nodded towards the chubby man who was standing on guard. "You keep an eye on that front door. You're our lookout." The man gave a nod in return. "It's Doug, you got it." "And I'm Carly." The sharpshooter spoke. "Okay, Carly, you'll shift in with Doug when he needs it. For now, get some rest. You're a good shot and I'd like to keep it that way." "You got it, boss," Carly agreed. Lily narrowed her eyes as Kenny gave out orders. She didn't like some stranger coming in and taking charge of her people, but given the situation she had no choice. Sean spoke up. "I can help out too." "Sean," Herschel called gently. "It's okay, Dad," Sean said. "Just take care of Beth." "Be careful," Herschel said, letting out a sigh. He went to attend to his daughter. Why don't you go check in that room for anything that might be useful? Kenny suggested. I'll help, Clementine offered. Sure. Sean nodded. Let's go. Clementine nodded and the two made their way into the room that had a sign on it for authorized employees only. Clementine opened the door, holding it open to allow Sean to enter before letting it swing shut. Sean looked to the young girl. Her face was filled with sorrow as she looked around the room. There was a mattress on the floor that was stained with what was clearly blood. Clementine swallowed and walked towards the blood-covered mattress. She spotted a photo and picked it up. She slipped the photo out from the frame and examined it. Her heart clenched as she stared at it. It must have been the family that owned the store. She let out a sad sigh, dropping the picture back to the mattress. You okay, kid? Sean asked. I'm fine, Clementine answered quickly. Well, Sean motioned towards a door that was blocked off by a large desk. I guess we should get this desk moved. Yeah, Clementine said. I can do it. Sean chuckled. Really? Yes, Clementine said. Just watch. She moved to the desk and gave it a push. It didn't move. Not one bit. Clementine tried again. It wasn't budging. Come on, she continued to try and push the desk, but it still didn't move. She wasn't strong enough to move it on her own. Here, let me help you, Sean offered, leaning his crutches against the wall. But your leg, Clementine said. It'll be okay, Sean assured her. Come on, help me move this thing. Watch your fingers. Clementine gave a nod. With Sean's help the desk started move, slowly but surely. Do you think Beth is okay? Clementine asked. I'm sure she'll be fine, Sean said. She's a tough one. Okay, Clementine mumbled. They fell silent, groaning as the both shoved the desk another few inches or so. What do you think of everyone? Sean asked. Clementine shrugged. They're okay. Well, maybe not the sick guy. Yeah, I hear that. Hopefully we can get his medicine soon, Clementine said. Don't worry, we will, Sean replied. Silence fell once again. They pushed the desk some more when Sean stumbled a bit. Ow? Are you okay? Clementine asked, concerned. I'm fine. Don't worry about me, Sean said. Your leg. Clementine looked down his bandaged limb. You hurt it, didn't you? It's okay, kid. I'm okay, Sean reassured her. If you say so, Clementine said softly. Yeah, let's just hurry up and move this, Sean said. Clementine nodded and gave another push, using all her strength. She was so focused on moving the desk that she hadn't noticed the drawer slide open until the force from them pushing the desk caused it to shut on her finger. The girl let out a yelp, pulling back quickly. She looked down at her now bleeding finger, giving it a shake, hoping to lessen the sting. You okay? Sean asked her. I hurt my finger. Clementine shrugged. It's no big deal. Let me see, Sean mumbled. It's okay. It's nothing. Clementine tried, but the man ignored her. Sean took her hand into his own, looking at the teen's finger. You're bleeding. I'm okay, seriously, Clementine mumbled, feeling her face heat up in embarrassment. No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let you do this. Sean let her go. Clementine shook her head. It's not your fault, Sean. You told me to watch my fingers. I should have been more careful. There's a first aid kit over there. Go check it for a bandage, Sean ordered. Clementine looked to the table where the first aid kit was sat on. She sighed and walked over to it. Opening it up, it didn't take her long to find a bandage, and she quickly turned to see that Sean had moved the desk the rest of the way. You did it on your own. It wasn't that heavy. Sean shrugged. I'm sorry. I wished I could have helped more. Clementine looked down. Don't worry about it, kid. Sean just offered her a smile. At least the door's cleared. Clementine moved forward and tried the door. It's locked. Shit. Guess we'll need the keys, Sean said. Or another way in, Clementine added. Sean nodded before looking to the teen. Let's head back out. Clementine agreed, handing him his crutches. The two made their way out of the room. Find anything? Kenny asked as the Clementine and Sean re-entered the room. The medical supplies is in there. But the door's locked, Sean explained. As the two talked, Clementine went over to check on Beth, who had calmed down, but was looking rather ill. "Hey, Beth," she greeted. The girl didn't respond. "Are you feeling okay?" Clementine asked the child. Beth let out a small cough, but gave a nod. "She has a fever," Herschel said. "I think she might have a cold or something." Clementine gave the little girl a sympathetic look. She knelt down beside the little girl, offering her a small smile. "I hope you feel better." Clementine quickly cut herself off, eyes suddenly growing wide, and she froze in terror as she noticed little Beth's pants had been ripped at the ankle and blood was seeping from them. Clementine's breath caught in her throat and she slowly reached out, shaking hands. "Oh no." Herschel watched the teen in confusion as she mumbled quietly, "Clementine?" he called. Clementine didn't respond. Instead, she lifted the child's pants leg and her fears were confirmed. "Oh God. What's wrong, darling?" Herschel asked. The girl stammered, nervously looking up to meet Herschel's eyes. She's been bit."